Hello and welcome back to Truth or Tradition. This is going to be the second part of my testimony. Needed to break it up a little bit due to some scheduling issues, how life goes. But I do want to continue in this testimony to get to the good parts, the part where Lord takes over control and we see some real breakthrough. So I believe at the end of my last testimony, kind of talking about that late teens, I was in a really bad place, the worst, most empty place in my life. I remember asking the Lord into my heart when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And I remember even at that time just feeling so fulfilled by the love of God and knowing that He was there no matter what, and that I could talk to Him. I felt His presence, and obviously my parents were praying for me, praying with me. I was going to church and knew of the Lord. I do believe that I had a relationship with the Lord and that I was saved at that early age. But into my teens, into this deep depression, I completely pushed away from the Lord. I became very bitter against the Lord. I thought that I was special because I had something happen to me. I was special because my dad was sick, and that, maybe the Lord would just understand that I was angry and that it was okay that I was kind of walking away. And I became completely numb, empty, dark. I did not feel the Holy Spirit. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced being so far from the Lord that when you pray, it feels like you're praying to the wall. I mean, it just feels like it is going absolutely nowhere. And I can tell you that that was the most scariest times in my life, when I would lay into bed and contemplate what would happen to me if I had passed away, because it was just blackness and darkness. So that was just, and then I started getting in these friendships that were, people who were starting to drink. And I had a lot of friends who did drugs, but I did not ever get into drugs. Thank the Lord for that. I am, or have been, a people pleaser. I want to please my parents. I don't want them to be disappointed in me. And although I had smoked cigarettes and, been doing some drinking that they never knew about, I felt like, well, if I don't do drugs, if I don't do any criminal activity, like, I'm still, I'm trying to honor them. Let's do that. So let's get back to my grandfather has now passed away, bitter against the Lord. So now, I've gone through this abuse. My father is sick. My grandfather has passed away. I don't understand anything that the Lord is doing. And I'm just like, I don't know what you're doing. And I just need to break away. I used work as an excuse of why I can never be at church. I needed to be working, which, and somewhat was, I did need to work, and Sundays were the busiest day. But of course, that is how the devil likes it to be. I was going to school, working on finishing my degree to go into ultrasound, and just kept myself busy. I thought, I was having fun, but when I would go home at night, it would be all depression. It would be all sadness. I felt like nobody really understood me. My friends didn't really care to hear about what was going on. They weren't sympathetic or understanding, and they did their best. I'm not blaming them. They were teenagers too, So I definitely fell out of church. I was still looking for, the dream. I wanted to finish ultrasound school, and I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a family one day. That was my hope and my dream and my goal. I always wanted to be a mom. And so when you go to a church that has all your family in the past, you weren't meeting anyone. And then I went to a school that was very small. I believe there was like 2 or 3 dudes in my high school, so not finding anyone there. And then, you're at college. I'm very introverted. I'm not talking to people, and like, how am I going to meet my spouse? So ended up going online, doing some online dating. I know that's good or bad depending on what app you're using, and I'm not sponsoring anyone, so I'm not going to say the name of what we use to meet, but I can tell you that it was a divine appointment. I went on at what you would call a free weekend, and was reading through the profiles and started talking to my now husband, and just, he made me laugh. He made me feel comfortable, very upfront with my beliefs, although I was not practicing them at the time. I, was like, hey, listen, you're going to have to be accepting of the fact that I want to go to church. I want to raise my children in church. I want to be a family that's in the church and, that accepts and follows Jesus. And if that's not okay with you, then we're not going to work. So luckily, my husband, although he was not a believer at the time when we met, he was very accepting and understanding, and he thought the things that I was following in my life were very honorable and something that he was looking for in a wife. So God put us together, and while we were dating, I started getting back to church. I was going to a little Baptist church, and we started to grow there. We started to grow as individuals. We started to grow as a couple. And then we ended up going to the altar together. I needed to renew my relationship with Christ, and he needed to pursue a relationship with Christ for the first time. And it was really a beautiful thing. We still had so many hurdles to overcome. Obviously, I was dealing with a lot of pain, and he was dealing with his own pain and issues that he needed to work on and fix. And I think we're still working through that to this day. But thank God that he put us together, and that we were able to find the Lord and start our relationship on a good foundation. So we got married. I was happy, still dealing with depression, still dealing with anxiety, still dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. And it was just, hard, because I'm not trying to drag down my relationship. And, when you're in that honeymoon phase, you don't want to say anything that's really bothering you or freak the person out. But all along the way, my husband was very understanding and comforting and helpful. So we started going to that church and spent about 5 years there. We had our first daughter while we were going there. Just very small church, biblical preaching, I believe, but we weren't really growing. I didn't feel like we were going anywhere, and was feeling a lot of pressure to do all these things that I didn't think were in the Bible. So anyways, after some falling out, we ended up stepping away from that church, wishing them well, wishing the people well, but we needed to separate. And we decided to kind of reunite with our family that had split off and gone to a little bit bigger of a church. Nothing crazy, but when you come from maybe 50 people, and then you're going down to 25, so then you're going to this church that has over 100, it feels huge. We had visited many times, but we're like, I don't know, we're not used to this. So we started going there and enjoyed it. Ended up joining the church, Free Will Baptist Church, and had our second daughter. Just enjoying our time there. I'm working in the hospital field, dealing with all the craziness that is in the hospital world. So much going on there. My husband working, he had graduated from being a mechanical engineer. My dad is still sick, still struggling. My mom is in the workplace doing her best. Still just feeling completely overwhelmed with mental torment from what I had experienced throughout my life. And although I had gone to therapy, 3 different therapists, and the last therapist actually told me that I needed to see another therapist. So my last therapist told me that if I was going to see her, that I also needed to see another therapist because it was just too much and I wasn't really getting anywhere, and that I was broken. Those were the words that she used. So to hear from someone who talks to broken people all day tell you that you need an additional therapist and that you're broken, it was shattering to me. I swore off all therapy. I wasn't going to do it anymore. But I was getting my depression medication through my provider, and I thought, okay, we're managing this. You're going through the ups and downs of having children and the emotions that come with that, trying to be the best wife you can be, trying to be the best mother you can be, while feeling like all you do is fail all the time. And just always this kind of nagging of why can't I keep this house clean? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Why am I so emotional? Learning how to really opened myself up to worship and praise, starting to sing more in the church environment, starting to get more involved in small groups and things like that, really finding a good core of Christian women that I can rely on and trust and help and upbuild. And it has been a beautiful experience. I've enjoyed so many of the people that I've met along the way, and there's just a fantastic group of people that I've been a part of. And the Lord has done many great things. I think the last part of my testimony, which is going to take you through the last short period of time, maybe 2-3 years, is going to be the most interesting for you. It was for me, and it's still going on, but I realize that you may not believe or accept the things that I have coming in this next video, but I pray that you would have an open mind to it, that you would listen to the Holy Spirit and let it reveal to you if what I'm saying is truthful. And I pray that my testimony will change lives, because that therapist told me that my life was, not worth much. But we know it is. We know that God is all powerful, and that he works things out for good for his people. So stay tuned. Testimony part 3 coming in very shortly here. Hopefully I'll get it recorded later today. All right. Thanks so much for coming. Can't wait to see you again.